Joanne, great to be with you today and great to speak to you. We're going to be talking a bit about ESG and your journey into that a bit later and how Worldwide Generation has been helping you on that journey. But what's Maintel? What do you guys do?
We are known as a cloud and managed service provider, although I don't personally think that encapsulates everything. We look at customers' business objectives. So we have a wide portfolio of on-premise, in the cloud, both voice, data, mobile, static ways of communicating. It really, really depends on what the customer wants to achieve, what reporting they want, what are they trying to bring together. We have both suppliers that we work very closely with, that we onward sell those or provide those products, but we also have our own proprietary equipment and technology. So for instance, we have Icon Cloud, Icon Connect, Icon Communicate. It's a whole suite that can actually assist customers to move forward and communicate more efficiently and more effectively, which at the end of the day, that's what we're here, and we're here to help them achieve that better communication.
That's great. And we've been working with you for some time now. And as you know, we're passionate about sustainability and transforming companies to think about ESG and the SDGs and to think about how they're responding in a business sense to some of these huge challenges that the planet has.
Yes.
You haven't had what I'd call a traditional route into this, have you? Because you've been with Maintel a while and you've sort of found your feet. How has that sort of worked out for you?
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my background as well in this. So I've been with Maintel for 15 years, and I've always been in a role that has been very customer focused. But being an AIM-listed company, there's also a lot of governance. Many of our main stakeholders, our customers, one of our largest groups, they have a lot of regulation. So we need to complement what they're doing. We have a lot of regulation because we're AIM listed, and I took on the compliance. So my background is very customer focused and compliance framework focused. Now, when you see ESG and the way it's grown, and it has grown incredibly, particularly over the last year, 18 months, you need to wrap that all together and actually take a step beyond the compliance. And for quite a while, I've been discussing with the board, how do we do better? Because there is a continual improvement. If you look at environment, we need to improve in some way to ensure we've got a positive impact on the environment. If you look at the social side, so I'm splitting each of these here, you look at the social side, we've got huge groups of stakeholders, our customers, our employees, everywhere local to our offices, our communities. How can we interact with them? So that, particularly with some of the COVID aspects over the last couple of years, has given more focus. You can't have the environmental positive impact if you haven't got the people. So the S side of things. And then governance, well, that's reams and reams of governance. One, because we are AIM listed, but two, because of the regulated customers. So a lot of our customers are in the public sector. They have requirements of us, but they also have requirements they have to meet under certain acts. And then we have regulated customers in the financial sector. So we're here to help them. So we're helping them communicate efficiently and effectively. But what we also need to do is ensure that how we run our business actually complements what they want to achieve. So that's where ESG then all came together. So I always say it is a step beyond compliance.
Fantastic. And ESG for us, you know, at Worldwide Generation is more than that. We talk about our C framework, social. We start with the people. We look at the economic side of things as well, and then then the environment, you know, heals itself once we've got those in place. I noticed your journey seems to sort of not only replicate that, but ESG has been this bubble that sits on the side of organisations too often. Oh, we've got to do CSR, we've got to do ESG, right? Who can we get? There's a little unit there.
Yeah.
Your story, your journey seems to be putting it front and center of company development, company policy. How has that sort of worked, and what have been the benefits?
So I will say I absolutely agree with you. I see very often that it's an adjunct to what people do as a business. Categorically, it's not. It is part of the business. And I'll take this back to my statement of it's a step beyond compliance. And if you don't have the S, you won't get the E. So very much I discussed with the Maintel board, and I am lucky in the board members we've got. They are forward thinking. They have a broad breadth of knowledge, obviously, and they were interested to see what we could do to assist the customers. Now, the only way we can do this is to actually embed it as culture and ethos within the business. And when WWG came along, and they were introduced to us via FinCap, who we work closely with, I looked and I thought, yes, what we can do here is actually create a journey, share a journey, but take a very practical approach so that we take everybody with us. Often I hear people that are embarking on an ESG or that beyond compliance step say, isn't that overwhelming? Because it's huge. If I look at the standards and frameworks that we have to, or our customers want us to follow, I think we're up to something like 15, maybe even 20. So for me, working with WWG, I got the ability to map all of those, to map all of those frameworks to that top level, to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which meant everything we did for each of those goals complemented all the requirements underneath. So immediately, working with climate action within SDGs, I'm immediately improving what we do in our international standards, which is something our customers ask us to have. So it's given me the ability to aim for the top. But as I said right at the beginning, a lot of people find it overwhelming. So we are being completely transparent. We're using our Maintel ESG at Maintel website to advertise what we're doing. And now the WWG software that we engage with, we've actually published that onto our website so people can follow our journey and they can see the progress as we go through.
You mentioned that people are often overwhelmed when they look at the whole area of ESG.
Yeah.
And you've obviously been on a journey within Maintel yourself and with colleagues. How have you brought those colleagues on board? How have you brought clients on board? And what sort of initiatives have you had to develop to fly the flag for ESG?
Okay, so I will say a lot of this is about communication. So initially, when you look at the E, the S and the G, you need to remember that for absolute years, we have all been reporting on our financial status as a company. So we know what comes in, we know what goes out, we know what we pay, we know what we receive. So it's all there. So we have a lot of the G streams that we need. The majority of companies have an HR or human resources person or a department or a huge department, and they know what employees they've got. They know what charity events they've been doing. So I think what I'm trying to say is everything is there in a company. ESG and actually having a figurehead or a leader that can get the buy-in from the board and agree that it needs to be an ethos across the company just enables you to bring all that data together. And that's where the WWG software comes in, because I can set a scope for everything that we need to meet for our customers, for us, for our suppliers, where they're asking us, particularly environmental information. So that scope enables me then to pull all the different data points together and have that live interactive, here it is, here's the responses, here's our sustainability report, and then move forward. And then linking that to the SDGs at the top means we are taking that with the highest level of action that we can. So the initiatives actually come on the back of a materiality assessment. Now, that may be a new term to some people. So essentially, that's a survey. Because I could sit here and say, right, Maintel needs to do this. But actually, I might be wrong. That might not be what our customers and our suppliers and one of our biggest stakeholder group, our employees, actually want. So we reached out to customers, suppliers, the board, the non-executive directors, our elected employee representatives, and we asked them. Some filled in a survey, some were interviewed face-to-face, general discussion, and we took all that information and we looked at, well, where does that get us? What actually is important to these people? And we came up with 6 SDGs that we would follow. So then we reflected that onto the WWG software. And we checked the targets within it. We checked our frameworks. And then from that, we took targets we could reach. So one of the things, gender equality is extremely important to our stakeholders. So we've set some practical targets. Actually, what balance do we want on the board? What balance do we want in our executive team, in our senior management team? And actually, one of the things that came through was that journey from education all the way through to females being in a more technical role. So we linked that again, funnily enough, another one that came through in the materiality assessment on top of gender equality was education. So we've looked at a full apprenticeship scheme. So it's a practical approach. How can we take and meet targets within those SDGs? So take a female leaving school, put them through an apprenticeship, put them into the technical world and let them flourish in that. So that's one of the practical approaches we've been doing. And then looking at our local communities, again, for the education, that came across as really important to our stakeholders, having the properly qualified and educated people. So we run a full apprenticeship scheme. We use the apprenticeship levy. But what we've done this year is we've set ourselves targets to combine apprenticeship with the community. So I'll give you an example. We have an office in Cannock. And through gifting, we are actually paying for a early years practitioner qualification at a local nursery because our staff have young children that will use that nursery. So we are committing to the community, we are helping with the education, and we are helping our employees, another large stakeholder group, so it becomes that full circular, everybody is supporting each other. So other practical approaches we've taken, we've decided to start our own forest. Climate action, we started the Maintel forest. So what we've done here is for every 500 cloud seats that a customer purchases, we plant a tree. We have opted to plant trees in the UK for the time being. That was, the employees told us that UK they wanted to do first. And we don't do this in a virtual way and donate money. What we actually do is buy the trees and we plant them. And we've been working with the head forester down in Waverley and a small not-for-profit company. And we put wellies on and we went and planted the trees. And we planted our first 30 trees back in September time last year. And it was quite good fun. And I mean, I must admit, I enjoyed it. It was hard work. But I did enjoy it. But the serious side of that is the environment. Because for every tree we plant, we can see that tree can absorb a ton of carbon over its lifetime. Now, working closely with a forester, he's explained to us that they will coppice those trees. So those trees will last longer, they will absorb more carbon, and everything they take off in the coppicing method, they are then using to help the deer by stopping them getting onto the roads and being killed. So it's fantastic that you've got that whole circular area there, but also we've done it at the edge of a park. So it's providing, again, for the local communities. So this is very much about bringing everything together. Although they're headlined as 3 separate streams, your practical approach needs to bring everything together. And it does start with the people.
So your relationship with Worldwide Generation came through FinCap.
Yes.
And you came onto what we call our G17 Eco Platform, yes, to use a product, probably apologies for all these names, but the Company Tracker Pro.
Yes, that's right.
The G17 Eco Suite.
Yeah.
How have you found using Company Tracker Pro?
I like it. I'm really, really lucky that the customer success manager that I was allocated worked really closely with us to start with, because it can be a bit, oh, I've gone on, there's all these boxes, there's a huge, great scope. But once you actually sit down and look at what it's pulling out, what it's drawing together, it's a really, really powerful tool, because not only can I look at the top level sustainable development goals, and I have to tell you this, when I answer questions and I input data and it flashes up on the screen, you've input X% to this particular target or goal, it makes you feel really good. I don't know why, but it just does. You can see that you're doing good. So it's great for the people that are inputting. It's great for the people that can see the output because you've got all the evidence. And within there, for some of the standardized reporting, so if I want to report GRI, for example, so Global Reporting Initiative, if I want to pull something off in that, it's a touch of a button. I only have to put the data in once and it can collect it from different systems that we utilize. So I'm not impacting any of the departments around the business. We're sucking that information in and then we can produce our reports literally at the touch of a button. When you first look at it, I found it took a little, a few goes just to get used to it. But I found it to be very powerful, very worthwhile. And in fact, we have taken the headline achievement on the SDGs and we've put it onto our website. So we've made that public, and that updates as we input more data into the G17 Eco Pro software. The other thing we've done, and this is our relationship with FinCap, they had a specific set of questions that they wanted to receive the answers to, if you like, give a rating on ESG to see how we're improving. They picked out some aspects. So I've given them access. There's absolutely no point me taking reports and emailing it. This enables them to see the journey as we move forward. They can log in. They can't do anything untoward. They can't change the data, but they can actually see the journey as it's progressing back for the previous years and the following years. And what I like with our CSM in particular and the WWG technical team is they're listening. So where I'm saying, actually, if we could just move this, or could you join this to this system? Could we take this information in directly or output? They're listening and they're developing. So as much as the journey into ESG has built on Maintel's governance, the WWG journey has linked with it, and we're both benefiting from discussing and talking and reaching the goals. So it's worked really well.
I would say you're well ahead in your journey with ESG, but you obviously, looking at it, you think, oh, gosh, there's so much more to do. What would you advise those who are just about to start their journey into ESG, into reporting, into trying to work out their impact in this area?
Do you know, I would say immediately, don't be frightened. The majority of companies have the information. What they haven't done is pull it together and look for a practical strategy to improve. So I mentioned that, you know your revenues, you know your sales, you know your target markets. You can talk to your employees, you can talk to your customers, what's important to them, what regulations are coming along, what initiatives are they running? Is there someone that you could work with? And you gradually start to form a journey, and it is a journey. Now, I think personally, the baseline for me was to start with a best practice framework. And Maintel did that some 9 years ago. So I'm alluding to the international standards, so the ISOs. And if you can look at that as the first part and build forward all of those frameworks, good practice, best practice standards, they all feed into the SDGs. So if you want to take it in small chunks, just build up on what you've got. So if you're looking at the governance side, you've got your reporting, you've got your accounts, you know what's there. That's an easy one to get hold of. The S, talk to your people. Just start talking to them. What's important to you? That's the question that you need to ask them. You don't need to talk to them necessarily about SDGs and any of the targets within it and global goals. You don't need to. You could frighten them. But what do they want? If someone comes to you and says, what's important to you? What would you like to see improve in the community? They'll tell you. Just an open question. Now from that, you'll start to get some trends of what people like. You'll start to see if they're interested in the environment, and then you can start to set the target. Environment, that can look really scary when you start to look at that. There's a lot of technical aspects around it, and that some people will find overwhelming. But my suggestion at the start of the journey, start small and build it up. Put in an ethos of continual improvement. So if the first time you look at this, you can change the stationery to a more sustainable product. You change the lights to LED. You can go out and look at your recycling. Can you offer recycling to your customers? Now, it's something we've ventured into. So we found that we can take a customer, their business objective is to move from on-premise equipment to cloud, but actually what happens to that kit? So we found a way to create a circular economy to bring that back, working with one of our partners. Now, that might be a step too far for some people when they start their journey, but look internally. And again, start with the S. With the people, what's important to them? And if they're seeing plastic cups, some very basic ideas here, but if they're seeing plastic cups, why not provide them with their own cup, a logoed cup, which they're going to use, so they're advertising the company. This all links in, and it's good. And it doesn't then create additional waste, additional impact on the environment. When you're ready, take the step and look at the science-based targets. We have to get motoring forward to save the planet, to save the whole environment. If we each do our own little thing, and then we look upstream and downstream and help the people there, and they're also helping us, we will gradually build a momentum of improvement. But start small, look internally and build it up gradually. Set yourself targets, set yourself strategies, but practical ones. But always keep the people on board.